Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We also have on with us tonight some members of the Greater Woods Subcommittee. This is the March 1st meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. We're holding this meeting as a virtual meeting due to COVID-19 and in accordance with Governor Sunun's Emergency Order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, extended by Executive Order 2021-02. This commission is authorized to meet electronically. As stated on the agenda, the meeting is aired live on Merrimack TV, Channel 20. Telephone access is available to members of the public wishing to provide comment at 1-312-626-6799. Before we get started, in accordance with RSA 91-A-2, each of us will state where we are, who's with us in this room, and why we're participating electronically. I'll go ahead and go first. I am Steve Perkins. I'm participating electronically from an office where I work. I'm alone in this room, and I can hear the audio. Gina, would you like to go next?
Yes, I'm Gina Rosati. I am participating electronically from home. Attendance in person is not reasonably practical due to COVID-19. I am alone in the room I am in, and I can hear the proceedings.
Hi, Mike Boisvert, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Mike Boisvert. I'm participating electronically due to COVID-19. I'm in this room alone, and I can hear everybody just fine.
Gage?
This is Gage Perry. I'm participating at home due to COVID restrictions, and I'm alone in my room, and I can hear everybody just fine.
Fantastic. Eric will not be joining us tonight. Mike Druin?
I'm Mike Druin. I'm participating at home due to COVID restrictions. I'm alone in my room except for my two very small kids, and I can hear everything fine.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Cindy?
Cindy Glenn, participating electronically due to COVID. I am at home alone in this room, and I can hear the proceedings.
Fantastic. Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Tenhave. I am participating electronically due to concerns with COVID-19. I can hear everyone just fine, and I am alone in this room.
Okay, and Pete? Oh, Pete, you're muted.
There's always one, isn't there? There's always one, and I'm going to be that guy.
Nice going, Cappy.
My name's Peter Albert. I'm participating electronically from my home. I'm alone, and I can hear everybody fine.
Fantastic. When we do get through the statutory business and we're ready to do the subcommittee, hear from the subcommittee, depending on how, regardless of how many members are on, we'll go ahead and ask them to do the same thing then, but we'll wait till we get to them just in case more members join. So moving on, let's see, who are we missing? Did you take count, Cindy? Or Gina?
We're just missing Eric, so you can have either Mike or Tim step in for him.
Thank you. Mike Druin, would you fill in for Eric? Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. It doesn't look like we have any. I don't see any hands up in the gallery, so I don't think we have any members of the public on for public comment. We also don't have any public hearings. We don't have any public appointments tonight. So that takes us to statutory and advisory business. The first item on the agenda is RCA Holdings LLC applicant and Edgewater Heights LLC owner. Review for recommendation to the planning board of a site plan to construct a 57,850 square foot self-storage facility in accordance with the Edgebrook Heights mixed use conditional use permit. The parcel is located at 4 Benning Court in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 2E, lots 006-02 and 007. So let's see, who do we have on to speak about this piece of business?
Good evening. My name is Jason Lopez from Keach Nordstrom Associates. And with me tonight is Gordon Welch from RCA Holdings LLC. He is the applicant.
Excellent. Good evening, gentlemen. You want to start by telling us about your project?
Yeah, so you mentioned location and so forth and the zoning district. So this project, these two lots that we're talking about were under the original conditional use permit for Edgebrook Heights. And originally it was contemplated to be a 20,000 square foot commercial building. And the other lot was going to be a convenience store with a car wash and 12 gas pumps. So in January, we went before the planning board to amend the conditional use permit to seek, to start the process to seek approval for 57,850 square feet of single level, non-climate controlled self-storage with a 1,200 square foot office and 23 outdoor parking spaces. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
So does everyone see that?
We do.
So the original CUP, like I said, contemplated a commercial building on one of the lots and then a convenience store, gas station on the other lot. So we're seeking to combine the two properties through a voluntary lot merger and construct self-storage on the two. So closer up here of the site plan. So this property will be served by municipal sewer and water. It will be accessed off of Benning Court and snow storage along the north and the south end. We've got snow storage down this end. They're going to be plowing down the aisles to the ends. Also, the main corridor coming down in the property. We got some snow storage at the end of that. And then we have some bulk storage area behind one of the storage buildings next to the office. On this sheet, we have note 23, which talks about the no salting and the use of a green snow pro contractor. On the detail sheets, we have, if I get there, we have our application rates for fertilizer. Initial application will have a higher level of the phosphates, and then the reapplication is the lower once we get that established root base going. And then the last item, I guess, is the drainage on site. Drainage is all going to be captured, off the roofs onto the pavement into closed drainage system. We have a large subsurface infiltration chamber system. On both ends, we're going to enter on the south end and the north end, we have a catch basin with a snout or a lost the term, a hooded catch basin to capture oils and floatables, also capture grit. After it exits those hooded catch basins, it'll go into another isolator row, which is this company's pre-treatment methodology. Then it goes into the chambers themselves, separated off of seasonal high water table, quite a bit, quite deep water table out here, and then infiltrate into the ground. Then higher storm flows will exit out into an existing channel on the east side and kind of meander down through the abutting property out to the Merrimack. So we have developed a landscape plan. With that, I without boring the commission here with a whole bunch of other details, I can take more specific questions.
I already checked them against the invasive species, so they all looked good.
I just had one. I did look at your site map, and it looked like there was a considerable amount of snow storage area. Is there some kind of grading or whatever in winters where we have a lot of accumulation of those storage areas to make sure all that's contained in the drainage infrastructure?
Yeah, well, actually go back to the other sheet. So what I've done is I've incorporated a larger platform at the northerly end of the parking, so that can drain back into our catch basins along the edge of the curb line. And then on this end, this is cut into the ground, so into the grade. So they're going to be pushing up against that banking. Again, snow melt onto the pavement, down into the closed system, into our infiltration system.
Okay, thank you.
Jason, there's also another drain in the bulk storage area, is there not?
Yeah, a larger area right in here, and we've put a little yard drain in there to help pick up that snow melt. So if the outer areas become full, he has a location to move the larger snow piles, and then it's got a place to drain into that closed drainage system.
Okay.
So that means you don't expect any of the snow storage on the north side to actually go further north and into the roadway then, adjacent to the property.
Well, I guess it's how far does the snow guy push it back? Yeah. Does he have the opportunity to push it off the end? I suppose he would.
But I think the fence would be the limiting factor there, correct, Jason?
Yeah, there is a fence down on that slope. Would be a limited amount if they do over push that area.
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, are you planning to allow automotive storage in these units?
Inside the units, yes, that could be an option.
Is there anything inside the units to capture anything that could come out of an automobile?
As far as fluid release?
Yes.
So they're monolithic concrete slabs. As far as capturing, I mean, there's no drains or floor drains of any type.
Okay.
It's solid monolithic concrete slab.
So if it was to leak out, it would eventually go under the door and into the main.
Well, yeah. So if the facility will be, is professionally managed by a national operator who I engage as a third-party management company. Every unit is checked at least twice a day, as far as from the exterior, the locks, for any issues, concerns. So certainly, if something started to appear, then we would be able to employ emergency measures, cut the lock, investigate what's going on, and take the appropriate remedial action.
Okay. Will you have some sort of spill kit or something like that available on site?
We could certainly look into that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great, along with some training for your employees or the management's employees.
Sure. I will note that in the lease agreement that will be in effect, that there is strict guidelines as far as what can and cannot be stored, as far as bulk petroleum fluid, solvents, or things of that nature, hazardous materials. So that there'll be strict guidance as what's allowed and what is not.
Yeah. So I imagine the infiltration system will have a regular maintenance routine that needs to be followed as well.
Yes, the system is currently under review by Alteration of Terrain. That does have a maintenance program along with that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I've got one quick question. There's a note on the seating plan, their use of silt socks. What are they going to be filled with?
That's just a biodegradable matter, compost material.
Okay, so we're not going to end up with any live invasive sock. It's a conditioned.
It's a manufactured product.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
I just had one question, and it was about the fertilizer. I saw the numbers on it. I did notice on the Kodiak, Keach does reference the low phosphate, slow release nitrogen, but you don't on this one. And I know that you're aware of it, but I think because we did get something from the Director of Community Development, and apparently there's a new site plan regulation that was adopted back in September of, it must have been 2019. And the language, if you're in an aquifer conservation district, is only low phosphate, slow release nitrogen fertilizers shall be used. So
I'll add that note onto the plan.
Okay, that would be
further clarification.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, and that would impact your initial application chart on sheet 9 of 12.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions, concerns?
I'm all set.
All right, well, we'll draft up a communication, send back to the planning board. We'll make sure we have the call out about the recommendation about spill kits on site, and to clarify the language regarding fertilizer. Anything else?
Did you already go before the planning board?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Okay, I will get that out. I'll get that to you early, Steve.
Thank you, Gina. Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
The next item we have for statutory advisory business is Kodiak Veterinary Hospital LLC is the applicant, and Karen Roy, the owner. It's a review for recommendation to the planning board for a 2,224 square foot building addition and change of use to a veterinary clinic. The parcel is located at 255 Daniel Webster Highway in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts tax map 3D-2. It's lot 039. Who do we have with us to speak to that about that project tonight?
Good evening. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Norsham Associates as well. I believe you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Yes. All right. Excellent. So as the chairman just stated, this site is a change of use at 255 Daniel Webster Highway. My client would like to convert it to an animal veterinarian hospital with some minor modifications to the site and to the building to accomplish that. Just to give you a couple of views coming in, what we're going to look to do is square off this corner of the building here, as well as add a second floor. And then on the other side, we're going to want to square off this area here and again add a second floor on there. One of the things we found after the zoning board application, actually, let me show you the aerial. This parking area down in here is pretty much in the right of way currently as it stands today. So what we'd like to do is remove that pavement that comes down into here, remove those parking spaces that are there. We did the calculations for this site. I'll get into them in a minute here, but we meet the calculations with the parking that's here and with parking that exists up here today. That can be seen here. So right now, here's where the existing pavement is in the right of way. We'd like to remove that pavement, add the grass. It's about 1,200 square feet. Then we'd add in some extra area in here. So our net between each pervious and impervious is about a wash. There's actually a little more green being added than there is building being added to the site for the actual site plan. One of the things that has come up since this is the site plan, as I talked about, we have the parking requirements here and here. One of the things that came up over the last couple of days is that we had review done by staff and they've questioned these proposed animal walking areas here and here. After talking to my clients here last week, we are not basically a doggy daycare. We did the site across the street here. So I had the specs on the type of material to put into this area here and this area here for, you know, if the dogs pee or poop and that type of stuff, that it doesn't go into the groundwater. Well, it was brought to my attention that because this is a hospital, these people utilize these two pieces of equipment and follow the dogs out when they go pee and poop, and actually ask that the people don't have their dog go pee and poop, because usually that's what they're testing to see what's wrong with the animal. So what we're going to do is this area is being removed and this area is being removed because they don't want to have, again, a play area for an animal.
Can you back up for a second?
For that, it was kind of an area where they build a collect.
You're ahead of your screen here because it's taking a little while to refresh. Can you just go back and what parts are being removed?
So we're not gonna do either. There's not gonna be a doggy area or an animal area at this point here. It's you know, currently right now they're in the strip plaza in Hudson, and there's no green spaces all around their site. And I kind of didn't understand why they didn't have that the other day when I put these on there, and that was why.
Okay.
So again, the point that I'm making to the board here tonight, and that I'll make to the planning board next week, is that they're not looking for an outside play area for animals. Sorry if I came home to present tonight and it's a little lagged. I apologize for that.
Matt, when are you going to the planning board?
We're back the 16th.
Thank you.
16th.
Matt, I don't think I think you presented some visuals tonight that weren't part of our original packet. Could you just make sure you send a copy of those to community development so we can make them a part of the minutes?
Sure. Again, it's a change of use. That was kind of, I can take some questions and comments you have from the plants out there, but I think it's pretty straightforward. These guys have an existing operation that they've utilized in a strip plaza. They'd like to expand and come to Merrimack. So thank you for your time.
Got all my hot spots. You got the straw, you got this green snow pro, you got the fertilizer, the low phosphate fertilizer, no invasives. So I'll let everybody else comment on all the other good things.
So stormwater, can you explain what's going on with stormwater on the property?
Yes. So currently we have two leaching catch basins, one right here and one over in this location here. We are proposing to, because we're not changing anything inside the parking lot, all we're doing is removing pavement. The flow is extremely low at 2.29 and 2.27 at the end of the day there. So again, this is mainly a change of use. The only reason we're doing the site work up in here is because after we did the survey, we found out that that was within the right of way that was there. So again, at the end of the day, the pre and post is a little bit less of pavement, and the two leaching catch basins work in our HydroCAD studies.
All right, so whatever is existing on the building now for capturing stormwater, gutters, or whatever else, or not, is that design continues with the updated building?
Correct.
Okay. And then what about snow storage?
Yeah, that was one I missed. So as much as I hit the other ones there, I missed the snow storage because that was one of the comments that O'Neill has. We're going to propose, the snow storage in the same areas where they are today, up in this location here and down in this location here. I wish I'd kind of seen last week where they plowed it, and it would have been easier to put on the plan for me. But I'm going to talk to the owners this week because we're taking care of the comments for, like I said, the town right now. They'll be utilizing the same places they've been utilizing with the site. And I can send that plan back to you guys. Again, I'm not back in front of the board for 2 weeks, so I can get that plan so you can see it, or in your package at least.
When do you go before the board, Matt? You told us.
The 16th.
16th.
It's pretty straightforward, Steve.
Yeah. I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have?
I do not.
Okay, well, thank you, Matt, for presenting to us tonight. We'll send off our recommendation to the board, to the planning board.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Moving on to new business. The first item we have is the Salhegan Rail Trail project. We did get an email from Kyle Fox. We're still waiting on some information. My recommendation, unless someone wants to talk about this further tonight, is that we continue to table this until the March 15th, 2021 meeting. Does anyone have an objection or would like to make a comment? Yes, Tim.
I've got a related comment to this project because when we were notified that we weren't going to discuss it tonight, we were also notified about a wetlands permit application. I believe that was not mentioned in the email that a wetlands permit was being dropped off at the town hall. When we get to other business after we've gotten done with the folks that are visiting here in the subcommittee, I'd like to talk a little bit about the wetlands permit and use it as a teaching moment for a moment, if you don't mind. So
absolutely, we appreciate that.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on from this one. Number 2 is the Horse Hill Nature Preserve, little free library. Everyone should have seen it. It was a very well done PowerPoint presentation that was attached to our packets tonight. They kind of outlined the scope and the intent or what the spirit of that request was. Did everyone have a chance to see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Angie. If you don't mind, I was just going to say if you have any questions that I can answer based on that, or anything else that you'd like me to talk through, I'm happy to talk that through.
Do you have the ability to share your screen so that the people at home can see your presentation? You did such a fantastic job on it. I think.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah. 1 second.
And then you can talk through it so everyone will.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can just quickly run through some slides if you want, and then feel free to ask questions, and I can answer them as we go. So I just have on here. I wasn't sure how familiar everybody was with a Little Free Library, but Little Free Library is a nonprofit organization. They have over 100,000 registered libraries worldwide. But basically, it's the same idea as the Merrimack Library in town. It's you take a book, you share a book, and it's open to the entire community. So I have had this idea kind of in my head every year. It sort of comes in my head that I'd love to do one of these, and then it sort of I just sort of stuff it in the back of my mind and I don't think about it. Mainly because I've never really looked into it, and also because I never really knew where I would put it. Last year in the April-May timeframe ish, when my family and I were going absolutely stir crazy, when COVID hit, we started looking for things that we could do outside in the area, and we found the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. And we spent a lot of time there over the fall, the spring, summer, and fall last year. And so earlier this year, when the the library idea came up in my head again, I put two and two together and thought it would be really cool if that could be a place that we could put that. So these were just a background, and this is some pictures from us this last year when we were there. I put together, this is sort of in my head, just a suggested build plan. I would not do the pastel pink, but the idea of the house itself where the books would go would be 14 inches wide by 16 inches high for the actual book space. And then the total dimension from the base of the house, the base of the library to the top of the roof would be about 23 and a half inches. I have full diagrams that I've kind of put together based on the research that I've had on how the base fits kind of within the house. I didn't put all of that here, but I do have some thoughts about how they can, secure together well. And then based on the research that I've done, a 5-foot pole seems to be the right height with 2 feet in the ground, and then the 3 feet above that, plus the height of the house. So from ground level of the post all the way up to the top of the house, you're looking just under 5 feet. The doorknob to the opening of the library would be around 4 feet or a little bit under, which is, I think, good height for both adults and for kids. So that's based on the research that I've done. This is kind of the plan. I'm thinking I wouldn't do anything too elaborate on the structure of the library itself. Color-wise, I was thinking something that would be like a green or blue or yellow or something, but if you guys were willing to move forward, I'd be open to suggestions on that. I just threw out some materials here that I was thinking based on what I'm comfortable working with, and then also what I have seen in my research that has worked well. This, of course, is pending by the time I would go to make this, what's available and what I can find. But these are just kind of what I have found. I took a drive out a couple weeks ago to the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. In my mind, I was thinking on the other side of the trail walkway where the map is. But as I got there, I realized that there was snow plows or snow piles there, as well as handicap parking. So then I saw the bench on the other side, and I thought it would be super cool if it could be somewhat in the vicinity of that bench, so that the memorial bench, so that if someone wanted to take a seat there and look through a book real quick, that they could. So that was just looking at it briefly. That's kind of where I thought that it would be cool, but of course that's obviously pending what you guys would say, and wherever you guys would approve and think would be okay. Just real quick, talking through maintaining the library. So I would love for it to be some nature themed type of books when it's first opened and launched. But the whole idea of the library and what I love about it is that it would be open to the community to take and leave a book as often as they want to. So I don't think that there's a way that you could ever say these have to stay nature themed type of books. But I think that it would be cool if initially those are the kinds of things that were in there. I have no problem. I live about 12 minutes away from Horse Hill. So checking in on it every 4 to 6 weeks, probably more frequently in the summer weather, since we're there quite a bit. And then I'm open to more if need be. But I think once it got up and running, it's really the community would hopefully be able to keep the books stocked. And then based on my research that I've done on other libraries, I think the biggest thing is the community outreach aspect of it. So just making sure that people know the library is there, they know about it, leaving bookmarks or notes within the library itself so that they know they can reach out to me with questions. The idea of the Little Free Library is that you can register with the organization, and that gives you access to what they call, I would be the steward, if you will, which is just the person that's maintaining the library. And with that comes multiple resources that you get access to, including you get put on their map of other Little Free Libraries globally. And so I just threw this on here so that you would see that there are a couple others in Merrimack. And I believe there's one at Kids Cove, or there used to be a couple years ago, although it's not showing up on their registered site. So you can build a library and you don't necessarily have to register it, but you lose all those other resources with that organization. And so that's all I had. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
So you would register this one with a Little Free Library?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Does it ever happen where like people leave an excess amount of books where, there's books hanging around on the ground? And
so I mean, more books the better, but I think the way I would combat that would be to set up an email address for the library and have notes there that say, if you have books you'd like to donate to, please reach out to me, and I can meet somewhere and grab them, or I can leave my information, that email there, so that if people do see books that they can let me know. That based on my research, that's not something that I've seen, but I think especially at the beginning, going and keeping track and maintaining, just checking in on it would help to make sure. But I think it would help if I just reached out and asked people in the community if they had books, send them my way, and I'll gladly hoard them in my basement, and then I can bring them to the library.
Thanks.
Angie, have you communicated at all with the Merrimack Town Library itself? Do they have any?
I have not. I believe one of the librarians, I'm not sure of her title, but I believe one of the librarians is actually the owner of one of the other Little Free Libraries in town that's registered through the Little Free Library organization. So I have not checked in with them to get their thoughts yet.
My only, I think this is a great idea, and it's fun. My only concern is I don't want people contacting you personally and coming to your house and dropping off books in your front yard or that. I would just rather there be some public place that they can go and drop them off and have some, I just don't want people in your yard and showing up and dropping things off. It's a little questionable to me.
I hear you. No, I am more than happy to reach out to them and see if they'd be open to that. And I can certainly do some more research and see what others do. I did reach out to one of the other stewards for one of the libraries here in Merrimack, and she said that it was a very something that she didn't have to spend a lot of time with, that the community kind of kept up with it. So I can certainly do more research and reach out to the library and see if that would be the case, if that was something.
Yeah, that would really be my only concern. It's just that you're not, personally going to have to be interfacing with everyone every time someone's going to pick up or drop off a book.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you could do is, because the library does collect, I'm not sure what they're doing with COVID, but normally they do collect extra books for their book sale. So you could certainly talk to Yvette, who is the director at the library, and ask. I'm not sure if they, I don't want to say be associated, but I don't know if they want any responsibility with this, but you can certainly talk to her and ask her. Maybe you could just put a little note that says, if you have books that won't fit in here, please feel free to drop them off at the library during their open hours as a donation.
Yep, good suggestion.
Couple other things I was going to ask. Pete Albert, does the town council need to hear a presentation or approve this?
I believe they'll have to, much like they would with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. It's a donation. It's a great project, by the way. Thank you. And I think they will. Angie will have to do a brief presentation. We won't be too tough on her.
Okay. Would you be comfortable, because the town council has their meetings in person? Are you comfortable doing that, or do you want to wait until vaccines are underway? And
nope, I'd be comfortable as long as regular COVID regulations, mask and all that stuff are spread apart. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so what I will do is I will email you and give you an on how to get on the town council agenda.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, and the conservation commissioners can weigh in, is how are you planning on setting this in the ground? Is this going to be something that is that you're going to kind of plant in crushed pea stone, or that you're going to try to concrete, or I guess that's something.
Yeah, I have thought of that, and quite honestly, I wasn't sure what would be allowed in that location, if that was something that concrete is, it wouldn't be allowed. I think the concrete would probably hold it the best, and you wouldn't have to worry about people pushing up against it. But again, I wasn't sure. I left that part out because I didn't know what would be recommended or allowed. So I'm open if there are certain things that I can and cannot do.
All right. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that, or?
We've sunk a number of posts around town here, and just basic concrete in the hole. It's not. I don't think we're going to have any concern about that. It's not like we're dumping it into a watered area or anything like that. It's going to a dry hole, so we can coordinate that, I think.
Yeah, the only thing is we have some rules about, as far as mixing the concrete and removing it from the site, and not leaving any dry concrete around that's going to get wet on it, so that it gets into the environment. So that's certainly something that we can talk about. And the only other thing I was going to ask you is, how are you planning on weatherproofing this? Does the Little Free Library give you tips on how to weatherproof so the books don't get wet?
Yeah, based on what I've looked at, so there's several ways that you could do it. I think the wood glue, in addition to screws on all the pieces of plywood, and then exterior paint. I'm planning to also have shingles to help with the top part of it. And then I think the plexiglass on the front would have to be, with a sealant that would help weatherproof it as well. If an exterior sealant is needed to help on top of the paint to help keep it covered, I can certainly look into that. But based on what I've been looking at through the Little Free Library site, exterior paint, several coats of exterior exterior paint with that extra wood glue and sealants seem to be enough. There could be a case where, as in anything, in another 3 years, you'd have to, slap another coat of paint on there. But that seemed to be the consensus among others, was that was holding.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess the last thing, just because we talked about this before, is I know you're going to be checking regularly, but do we need some sort of disclaimer to just say to parents, check the books before handing them to your kid, just to make sure that nobody puts anything in a book that a child should not see? No.
Yeah, I can certainly do that. What I would love to do would be to have some bookmarks or a QR code with to get some more information than what I would be able to put in the library itself. So as part of that, I can certainly put some sort of small disclaimer on there if needed.
Read at your own risk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, that sounds great. So, unless anyone else has any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few words. So your location is better where you've picked because the opposite side near the kiosk tends to get close to a wet area, and you don't want to be there. You don't want to be digging in there and doing all that stuff. So closer to that bench is a better spot. I would recommend pushing it as deep towards the tree line as possible, simply because when the parking lot gets really full, cars will park right in front of that bench and stuff like that. So if you're near the entrance going in and out, someone's liable to bang it with a door or something like that. So
good suggestion. Thank you.
That, and if concrete becomes hard, there's also these metal things you can put on the bottom of the post that you hammer in the hole, and then you set the post into this metal thing, so it's a long spike. It actually gives you another 18 inches or 20 inches into the ground for stabilization, and that is an option besides concrete. But concrete can be easy as long as you bring a few gallons of water. So you could pretty much pour it into the hole mostly dry and start adding water, and then mix it as you're putting it in, and then it'll set up fairly quickly. So especially if you use a good quickcrete. So
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just another reason to put it closer to the tree line is because when they snow plow there, like when we put that bench in, we had to be careful where we put it because they push the snow when they plow the parking lot.
Okay.
So just something else to be cognizant of. But I think it's a great idea, and I would love to see the nature books in there. The birds and insects. That would be great. Especially for kids, they could just open it up.
Yeah.
I have some books that I brought to the carnival last year, but some of them I will donate, and they can start off your library.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Gina, you've been in contact with Angie. You guys have emails back and forth? Okay, good. So Angie, when you get to the point where you're ready to do this, if you guys need some help, please feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to go out and help you with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thanks, Angie, for presenting that to us tonight and putting together that fabulous PowerPoint. We have your info. I guess the next step is Gina or I will reach out and talk to you about how to get on the agenda for the next town council meeting, because ultimately they'll have to approve it. Really, there's not much value in us doing a motion at this point. I don't think.
That's okay. Thank you for the time and listening. I appreciate it.
I will email to you tomorrow, Angie.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 3. Let's see. Item number 3 under new business. I'll make sure I didn't skip anything here. Is project signatures and approvals. Can the commissioner tasked with a project to take responsibility for all the signatures and approvals up to the limits recorded in the public and non-public MCC meetings? And I have a little background here from Article 9 of the finance bylaws. I'm not really sure. Does anyone Gina, you and I spoke about this, but I didn't really ask for this to be on the agenda. Did anyone?
Yeah, I can fill that in. So I believe we've talked about this before, and it was, a number of commissioners ago. So it's probably good to bring it up again. But we've run into this in the past where one of us is tasked with a project, and we find out that finance or someone is downstairs waiting for a signature, and what we thought was going to happen has been stalled, and again waiting for a signature. So we discussed it in public and said, whoever's leading that project, also now when they are voted to have it be funded, are able to make signatures required to push that project along. And as I'm going by my memory, I don't have the notes, but I believe we fully endorsed it. And why this got brought up again is during our last meeting, you guys all approved me to go ahead and order plants. And so I did all that, and they've changed how they're ordering them a little bit, but I finally got hold of the folks up in at the nursery, and then down to Sharon, and found out she was waiting for a signature. So we may have ended up losing some of what we wanted on the plants, because if anyone goes and looks at the catalog right now, you'll see that most everything is sold out. So I just asked Sharon if she could put this back on there so we could talk about it and make sure everyone's okay with the fact, there's a few $100s there that you guys voted for me to go ahead and make this motion and go ahead and do this job, and it was sitting there waiting for a signature before it could move along.
So what you're telling us is we don't have plants.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Sharon put the order together. I went and signed it and said we should bring this up on the meeting minutes, because we should talk about it again, make sure everyone's still in agreement that we're going to move forward that way. But I'm assuming Sharon got the order out. I've not heard from the nursery yet, so I'm sure we have something. I'm just not sure what.
Gage, so where did this need for the signature get log jammed with Sharon, or?
Well, no, fine. So they have to. The plants are paid with a check.
Yeah.
That's our method of making payments to everything, is with a check. Yeah. So, and typically the checks have to be signed by the chairman.
Okay.
And we ran into this issue a number of years ago, and we decided, look, if a commissioner, regardless of who it is tasked with the project, they are allowed to go ahead and spend the money that was in public session designated for that project. They are the ones that are responsible for moving that project along. So they should have all of the responsibility for moving it along.
Okay.
So you guys, the seedlings, a perfect example. We voted in public to go ahead and buy those seedlings. You agreed to let me do it. So I should be the one responsible for making it, keeping it in progress. So I just wanted to bring this up again to make sure that everyone understands it, or if we want to change that, we can, but that's kind of how we used to operate.
So you signed a check. Did you sign a check?
I signed the order form, yes. And,
the order form.
And approved that it'd be a check to be written and yeah, on our behalf.
Great.
So to limit confusion in the future, especially as the commission changes or town staff change, might be a good idea to add an article to our bylaws that state that it is a given when a commissioner is tasked with a project that they have full authority to act on behalf of the commission, including signature authority.
How we address this, Tim? It's in our jurisdiction to change it. We just have to address it in our bylaws.
Yeah, I think if we made it automatic in the bylaws, then we could always, we wouldn't even have to bring it up during a meeting. So, or a reminder of staff changes, that's the way we operate.
Does that have to wait till July?
No. it's a living document. We just typically reserve our first meeting of the year or our annual meeting of the year to give an opportunity to make those changes, but it's a living document. So just put it on the agenda and put out some wording, and then we could talk about it and potentially vote at our next meeting. So.
Okay. I'll work on that. I'll also reach out to Sharon because I don't remember seeing a request for signature for this. So let me dive into that.
You may have been in the hospital.
I got another one that I returned, I think the same day I got it. And it was
I'm trying to give you an out, Steve.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'll just use that. But I returned the other one I thought the day I got it, but I'm usually pretty good at getting these back. I don't remember. Let me do some digging. Hopefully we didn't miss out on all.
Well, it might be if Sharon can find out where because I remember talking about this in the past. I just don't know how long ago. It may have been when I was chair, so it may have been that long ago.
It's probably the last time we did Seedlings.
No, that was before that.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 takeaways for this one, and I understand this now. All right. Moving on to old business. First item is property maps.
So I got a request from someone. I'm the one that put this on the agenda. I got a request from someone. They were looking for a map. They don't have a printer. How can she get a printed map? So I messaged Sharon, and Sharon printed one. I emailed the person back, and I said, if you go to community development, they'll have a map there. But I mean, spring's coming. We could use some maps. I did end up emailing Frank at Paper Graphics and asked how much would the maps cost, and he said, well, he goes, I give them to you in exchange for having Paper Graphics on the back, which is wonderful because he said if you were to pay for them, they would be about $875. So this is a huge help that Paper Graphics is giving us and Frank is giving us. Again. My question, though, is the maps that we have are dated 2017. First of all, I need to make sure that I have everyone's approval to put in an order for maps. And also, do we need any changes? Go.
So Gina, I think I bring this up every time we talk about maps, but do we have QR codes posted at the entryways to all the trails so that people can scan them on their computer, on their phone?
We do, but not everybody is. I don't know how to scan a QR code. Some of us are just
very get rid of your flip phone
people. We're not QR people. I don't even think I have the QR app on my phone, quite honestly.
Okay.
Gage is laughing at me.
You gotta get rid of your flip phone, Gina.
I don't have a flip phone.
You're the only one with a rotary cell phone.
But anyway, no, and I see your point. We're trying to, not have as much paper out there. We're trying to save trees. But the bottom line is there are going to be some people that just want a paper map. So I would like to have some available, and certainly encourage people not to waste them, only take if they need them. But I do think that we should have some, and at some point we're going to need some for SCLAR too. So that was the other thing that I wanted to talk about was at what point do we get SCLAR as a map?
So there's no official trails on SCLAR yet, so it's definitely not ready for the maps. And boy, the maps disappear when they go into the, people definitely use them.
Yeah.
So you asked about updates. Is this a good time to think about maybe having NRPC do an update of all our maps? Because those are electronic, and therefore, not only does it help us for printed maps, but it helps for all our maps in general. So I know it's not something we need to vote on today, but I know that's a project they would certainly entertain if we wanted them to do an update, and they could probably quote us a cost for that.
Yeah, I guess my question for that would be, that is more of a long-term project. So
right.
if to get some maps now, but then we had, maps redone, then we could get some more maps next year with an updated map.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we just got 500 of each, I think I had asked him about 1,000 of each. What do you?
I don't believe we need Wasserman.
No, we really don't need a lot of Wasserman. People don't.
Yeah, I believe I've got 1,000 or so of them in my shed.
Okay, that's good. And really, only Cindy and I are the only ones that could get lost to Wasserman. So.
Or lose a scarf, right? That we found.
Or a shoe.
Yeah, that's right. No, that was Scalar, right? Yeah.
Meryl sneaker. Okay, so do we need to vote, or can I just ask to get Wildcat, Horse Hill, and Greater Woods for maps? Can I just ask for 1,000 of each of those?
We will have to pay something for them, won't we?
No.
No.
Frank, as long as we allow Frank to put the paper graphics logo on the maps, he continues to give them us for free.
He is wonderful.
Yes, he is.
He was so kind and wonderful when I emailed him, and he did say, Gage, that he does have some maps that you were going to pick up. So if I put this order in, then on my way, when I pick them up, I'll just pick up those maps.
Gina, you had mentioned that he said something about the panorama picture.
I did. I was going to wait until we talked with Greater Woods to bring that up. You want to wait for that? What was it? The WAPAC panorama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to wait for that, and we'll just do that now.
Yeah, we should probably get a real good picture, because I think that what was up there before was a drawing. Oh, that's really a photograph, was it?
It's like someone pieced together a bunch of printouts and then put a plexiglass over it. No, you can't read it anymore.
Okay, can I order maps?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and then we need to vote to have, I'm sorry, because I always get this messed up, NRPC?
NRPC.
PC. Yes. I always want to say DC, but PC. Do we need to vote? Because we would need to, or do we want to ask Tim to get a price on how much it would cost to have the maps redrawn?
Yeah, we'd probably start with the price, right? And then we'll put it on the agenda and vote whether or not we want to fund it.
What are we intending to have for updates? Just additional trails, right? Are we trying to change the format of the maps?
I don't think so. It's just a question of, have any of them changed in the last 4 years that we would need any maps updated?
Yeah, it still has.
I have a bunch of suggestions for Greater Woods after spending so much time out there the last year. Oh my God.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know, and Tim, you might want to jump in here, but I don't know what NRPC is going to give us. What are they going to quote on? Doing what?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we'd have to give them updates. We'd have to give them, hey, here are the new trails. Here's the new things to look at.
Right. So we would have to put together a proposal to them and say, hey, we need this trail system updated. We've got 5 extra trails now. They're in this relative vicinity. We've also added benches. We'd like those captured, or something like that, or points of interest that we want added to the map. So we'd have to look at each of the properties and put together a list of things that we might want them to do. But I just wanted to throw that out there that I mean, they're a service, and if we think our maps are outdated, we probably should kick it off, because it will take a few months at least. So,
Mike, I know you weren't on the commission yet, but I gave everyone 11 by 17 maps of all the properties when we first had these done. Does anyone remember where they put them?
I have mine in my drawer.
Yeah, I've got to have them in my cabinet for conservation stuff, so they're there.
So the maps, I don't believe those maps have changed since we handed those out. So that might be a place to start. If we can get start reviewing them and see if anyone's got any ideas of what may have changed.
I have some of the big ones that we normally take to the Winter Carnival too.
Okay.
Anyone needs the big ones too.
Yeah, this is probably an activity we want to engage with our subcommittees as well, because they probably have input that they'd like to add to see.
Absolutely.
So I guess if we can just start on that, engaging with our subcommittees and starting putting thoughts together, then hopefully in a couple of months we can bring this back up again and we can get to the point where we have something tangible to take to the commission.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to be talking to the Greater Woods Subcommittee, so we can talk to Nat about that today a little bit. And then I think the next subcommittee we'll probably have up is Horse Hill, because there have been some changes there, so we can talk to them about that then. All right, so I will order 1,000 maps for Greater Woods, Horse Hill, and Wildcat Falls, but not for Wasserman.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay, I will do that then, and then we'll discuss what we want to do with NRPC. So you guys can think about that. We'll talk to the subcommittees.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gina.
Sounds good.
All right, the next item, we have the second item under old business is a dog waste cleanup reminder and additional signage if it's needed.
Oh, me too. So we got an email on through Merrimack Outdoors through the Stay in Touch form, and someone just wanted to point out that in the nice white snow, dog poop shows up really, really well. So essentially what he was doing was he was walking through Horse Hill, and of course everybody knows we have Poop Loop there.
Poop Loop.
Yeah, and his comment was, why don't you have more signs? So here is my question now, because I mean, we've asked, we have signs at the kiosk, his his comment was, nobody's reading the kiosk. It's once you get in, the dog doesn't stop at the kiosk and go to the bathroom. The dog runs in and then goes to the bathroom. So his suggestion was that we have a big sign, probably, 100 yards in, that says, you're responsible for cleaning up after your dog. Do not leave the bags. Clean up after your dog and take it out. This is a carry in, carry out place. So I guess my question is, do we want to have a large sign created to put somewhere within the first 100 yards of each property? Each of the bigger properties. They don't seem to have a big problem at Wasserman. This seems to be more limited to Wildcat. And I don't know, do we have a big problem with Greater Woods?
What happens in the winter time is the snow gets packed down into one person at a time when it gets deep, and the snow's packed down, so everybody walks in that same 3-foot wide path.
Yeah.
And a dog doesn't want to go in the deep snow to do his business either. So he goes to the bathroom right in that 3-foot wide packed down snow path, and owners don't take care of it sometimes, and you're walking along and it's right where you walk. But I don't think signs down the path are the solution. It's definitely more of a problem in the winter time when the snow gets packed down into a narrow path. But it's not a huge problem in Greater Woods.
The biggest part of Greater Woods where you see it the most is at the fence line from the school. The fence going into the loop, but any other places it's really not that bad. But there's also a lot of open space right there. The dogs tend to go off into the woods a bit. Horse Hill is tough because it's got the gullies on either side of that roadway. You're really kind of stuck to that roadway.
Wildcat bad too. So if we were going to do signs, I would want something in Wildcat too, because Wildcat is, on both sides over by the wetlands.
The biggest problem we have is dogs don't read, and people who don't care. And
right.
We've been dealing with this for forever.
Yeah. And in the winter, people don't, if the snow is deep off this little packed path, they're not going to go hunt around for a stick or something so things end up staying right where the dog does his business.
It is against the law, though, just so everyone knows. It is a violation of town chapter 92 or something like that to not clean up after your animal. So
and I believe they changed it. It's not just, it's completely, regardless of where they go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because before it was out of the walkways and they changed it to, it's completely now. You have to clean up regardless. So even if they go off into the woods, you're supposed to go hunt it down.
Yep. The only place where they're free to do it is the owner's property or property with permission. So.
Yeah, the problem is that, it's, if people know that there are no consequences,
Yes.
then they're not gonna clean it up. And they get a little cheeky about that too, so. So you can remind somebody, but you can't exactly make a citizen's arrest on someone, so.
Yeah, just like as a stop sign when there's no police officer around, right?
All right, so I'm guessing that we don't even have to take a vote, that there's not a lot of support for a sign within the first 100 yards there, so.
I don't think it'll help.
Okay. No, I agree. I mean, and it's the same with bags, because you can put bags in there, but then they fill the bags up and then they leave the bags on the side of the trail.
Yep.
That doesn't do any help.
Or in the parking lot.
Yeah. So, oh well. Well, maybe I just need to go stand in the trails and just say to people, that's disgusting. So I wonder if that would help.
Okay, well, I think we have consensus to another sign there.
You need to add 2 feet to your stature, Gina.
Third item we had on under old business was the Merrimack Outdoor website. Updates, any suggestions?
I just had one comment. I took a look at it. Does it actually state on the website that this is the Merrimack Conservation Commission website, or is it? It's known as our website, right? Like, but I don't really. There's nothing that stands out that says this is the Conservation Commission's website. Welcome to the Conservation Commission, Merrimack Conservation Commission website. And I mean, we don't need to have a mission statement or anything, but I think it just would be, it'd be like more of a public relations thing, just them knowing it's the Conservation Commission's keeping this up.
So what kind of brought this up too was Mike Drune and I were kind of talking, and he said, hey, have you seen the Amherst Conservation Commission's new website?
I looked at that today too.
So he's going to talk about that, but then we also talked about the fact that Tim really does a lot of the website stuff now. He needs to hand that off as he'll be leaving in June. So I talked to Mike Drune and asked if he might be interested in taking that over, and he expressed some interest, so we can talk about that more tonight too. So take it away, Mike.
All right. I wrote this big long thing because I forget. All right, so I posted the link to the Amherst, new Amherst conservation website, and the first thing you'll notice is it's not a big wall of text like our website is. Our website, you open it up, right away you're faced with this wall of information. Most of what is on the website's right in front of you right away, and there's nothing really separating it. When you open the Amherst website, the first thing you see is a nice picture of a property, and it says Amherst Conservation Commission. And then underneath that is the option bars for the different pages. Instead, ours is off to the side, mixed in with the wall of text. So right away, people can find what they're looking for, most people, and they don't have to scroll any further. And it improves their experience. Now, what some of those things say, the option bars, get outdoors, maps, get informed, which is leads you to a sign up for their email, get involved, which brings you to volunteer opportunities, and get in touch, which is contact. What I really like is the get involved. Now, if you open that up, you'll see that they have several different things. They have trail stewards, which is basically maintenance, cutting brush, clearing. The next thing is nature stewards, which is take an inventory of the different plants and animals, fungus, different diseases, insects, you name it. Basically the health status of each property. And I think that's really important if we are looking to make a long-term plan and improve these properties in a way that's not just preventing them from being developed. Another thing is donate, which they say is tax deductible, and they tell you how to do that. You can also donate property, and they give you several publications on how to do that as well. And I think we should, take note of this. Our website is really, I'd say, revolutionary in terms of conservation commissions. When I was on the Hudson Conservation Commission, I talked about the Merrimack website a lot because Hudson doesn't really do much like that. And it's really nice because you can look at the properties, you can get maps, get a little bit of information, and it's friendlier than the town website, basically. So I think we should look at different websites. Amherst's new website is certainly pretty. I like it. I've worked with websites in the Navy. I did quite a bit of it before the Navy as well. And I'll take on that responsibility of doing this if you want. And that's it.
Thank you, Mike. I think we do have a need to find a new custodian, a new ambassador of our website. Did anyone have comments about Mike's ideas for the future of our website?
So just a few interesting points, because the current website, I think, was put together probably 8 years ago now, the general format of it, maybe 9. And then I think we did an update probably 6 or 7 years ago. So we made a conscious decision to have 2 websites. We have the official one for town business, linked off the town webpage. So that's where all our agendas are, all our meeting minutes are, all that stuff. It's maintained by the community development department. And we thought that was a good idea because everything that's official that needs to be handled is handled in one place by people who are responsible for it. So the Merrimack Outdoors website is everything else. So it's all about properties and conservation and whatever links and features we wanted to add. It's really managed by us, owned by us, and pretty much wide open to us, including email addresses and everything else. So if you're considering an update, you may want to consider maintaining that dichotomy there, having one for official stuff and one for all the things that is more fun, for lack of a better way of putting it. So that's a thought. Beyond that, it's really up to the commission where they want to go with the website. If they want to start over and do something newer, more in line with what you see today, it's totally up to the commission. I don't have a preference either way. So it will take a body of work, though, to put something together like you see for Amherst or something else. It's assuming if you do Amherst and you want to maintain the 2 websites, you probably don't want meeting minutes and stuff linked there. But it does take some work, and someone would have to have the right design tool chain to put that together. or you could utilize the chain that's already here, but not, you'd end up having to recreate themes and all that other stuff. So it's up to you. If you prefer, you could always think about having a third party, put the web, meet with whomever, whether it's a subcommittee or one or the person who's authorized or the whole commission, to put a plan or a thought together, and they could put all the framework together and give you all the features, and then Mike goes ahead and fills it all in too. That's also an option, which would reduce his investment of time to the more fun part, which is filling it all in. So again, it's totally up to all of you where you want to go with it. So, but it is true, when I leave the commission, someone's going to need the password, and someone's going to have to maintain it. So
Tim's threatening us.
So Merrimack Outdoors right now is handled by, it's Weatherby.
Yeah. Yeah, they did all the structure and formatting and gave us the tool chain to manage it and to work within. So the columns and the features and how you edit and all those things is all driven by them. The look and feel was created for us, so that way when you create a new box or wording, you get that same look and feel. So
have you been doing that creating, or have you been giving it to, it's Wendy, right?
So yeah, we don't have a contract with Weatherby Creative. We haven't had one for at least probably 3 years now, maybe. So all updates I'm doing within the tool chain that's already there. I'm using what we already have and work within those bounds, which has been fine with me, because I really don't have an interest in creating a web page itself from the ground up. So I'm sure I'm capable of it. It's just not something that intrigues me at all. So.
All right, so this is definitely something that we should think about, kind of let it, simmer for a while and decide where we want to go with this, because I think it's kind of too big of a decision to have in one night. We have the idea out there. So now we can, we have a person who is interested in taking it over from you, so that's good. So I think that once we discuss it and we figure out which direction we want to go at, then Tim and Mike can kind of talk and see how they're going to make that handoff.
I think it sounds like one thing that might be abundantly clear is that none of us, other than Mike Druin, really want anything to do with taking over the website from Tim. So maybe the right starting point, if Tim and Mike have time for this, maybe they could talk offline, and just that Mike can kind of assess, get his feet wet, and gain a sense for how heavy a lift this would be to do what he's even talking about. He may immerse himself in those waters and realize that what he's talking about doing, although it sounds great, is would require far more time than he has to devote to this. So maybe we just leave him with that task if he's willing to accept it, and he can kind of come back to us on March 15th or even the meeting after that, and just give us an update of where he thinks we should go and whether he thinks he can get us there. Does anyone disagree?
Go ahead, Mike.
I actually have work experience with websites, so I know how much work they are. I've created them from scratch before.
Yeah, Mike, if you want to take this over, I'm all in. I don't know if we really need a formal vote. I mean, I don't think we were taking formal votes, Tim, when we were telling you to, or allowing you to go take over with Weatherby and get the creation done. So we had a point person, but I don't, we're not looking to expend a lot of funds right now. I don't think we really need a vote for this. If Mike, you want to take it on, if you and Tim have time to hook up and review this, have at it.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm sure Tim would gladly hand it over.
Okay, so we'll leave it that Mike and Tim can connect and have some discussions, and then bring it back to us at the 15th. We'll put it back on the agenda on the 15th.
Want a little more time than that? Maybe a meeting after that, or?
Yeah, we could have the next meeting. I think is the 1st.
That's up to you guys.
All right, why don't you two discuss and then get back to us and let us know where you're at? How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Mike simply drop me an email and we'll get on the phone and I'll send you the password and we can walk through a few things. So.
Right. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Tim.
Fantastic. That brings us to other business. I know we have, in terms of subcommittees, we have one member. We have Nat on from the Greater Woods subcommittee. Can you still hear us, Nat?
Yes, I can.
Hey, thank you for bearing with us, and thank you for calling in. Kind of the idea of this was, and I can turn it over to Gage too. We felt bad. We can't allow the subcommittees to meet right now. You know, we've asked that question a few times over the course of the last year, I guess. You know, and we don't really have a method to have you meet virtually like we're doing. It takes town resources to put these virtual meetings together and so forth. So really the only way we saw that we could allow the subcommittees to meet was to invite them to participate as part of our Greater Conservation Commission meeting. I don't think, is there someone else from the Greater Woods subcommittee on?
I think Gage is technically a member, and I know Mike has attended and helped out with many things.
Yeah.
So we're it.
You're it, Gage. I'll turn it over to you.
Nat is the chairman. So now you are, aren't you?
I was a little over a year ago. The last meeting I attended was in November of 2019.
Yeah.
I was the vice chair at that point, and I'm not aware of anything other than Matt's departure that may have changed that. As a matter of fact, I believe I'm technically not even a member of the Greater Woods subcommittee, technically.
Yeah, because we haven't had a chance. We couldn't get together to vote. You know, that's a whole great topic right there. Is these subcoms, we have termination dates of membership, and we've not been able to meet to have our yearly meetings.
Yep.
That's an interesting point. Didn't really think about that. So probably right now all the subcoms are empty for the most part.
Yeah, I believe we had half of our membership on a 2-year rotating term.
Yep.
And I know my term, I believe, was set to expire in like July of 2020. There were a considerable number of members who will be coming up in July of this year, but you know, I don't even know who is technically a member.
Okay. Well, I don't know, Steve, if we really had a whole lot to present. I think I'm trying to think of the last thing we did last time we met, Matt.
So the meeting in January that I couldn't make, January of 2020, was the last one that I believe was actually held. I did not attend, so I don't know the details of what happened, but I believe that was one of the things was continuing on the revisions of the master plan.
Oh, yeah.
We've been working on that for years, actually.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay. I don't. Yeah, Steve, I didn't really have an agenda item or anything to really talk about at this. We were inviting the subcoms in if they had something to say. Perhaps Nat and I probably needed to get together and have more of a conversation before just showing up.
Yeah, and not to drop another bombshell, but I had intended to let my term expire and not continue to serve. However, given the circumstances, you know, I'm willing to serve for as long as it takes to, well, not as long as it takes, but for a reasonable amount of time to get a subcommittee going and not leave the Greater Woods subcommittee in the lurch. But I really don't have the time personally to devote a lot to the Greater Woods subcommittee, and I don't expect that changing over the next year.
Okay.
So one thing that I think we need to do is Gage, and I don't know if you want to do it or if you want me to send an email or you want Sharon to send an email, but I think we need to get an email out to everyone and see who is still interested in continuing. And then at the next meeting, we need to get everybody's terms extended.
Yeah, it's not going to be just Greater Woods. That would be all of the subcoms.
Well, I think Wildcat was okay because we ended up meeting, but before and got everyone extended. But I think I'm the only one on Wildcat that needs to be extended. But do you want Sharon to do that, or do you want me to do it? How would you like this to proceed?
I would love for someone else to do it.
All right.
I cannot get my mail on my phone right now, so I miss a lot unless I have to sit down and try to log into Outlook directly.
All right, I'm going to send an email out to everybody then, so I don't dump this on Sharon. So I'm going to send an email to everyone that's in Greater Woods, and everyone can let me know if they're interested in doing another 2 years. And I guess we're going to have to stagger them now so that everyone doesn't end up expiring at the same time.
I do have a question. Steve, you mentioned there's legal issues or something with allowing the subcommittees to meet. I'm not aware of any technical reason why they couldn't meet. Certainly, it shouldn't be difficult to. Well, I'm not familiar with Zoom because I am not allowed to use that through my employer. So this is only like the third Zoom meeting I've attended in a year.
Lucky.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but this certainly the conference software that I have been using and is freely available is capable of recording meetings, muting disruptive participants. If you just open it up to the public, and you can have I could certainly see a subcommittee meeting with its members plus the typical 0 to 1 member of the general public that ever attends a subcommittee meeting happening just like normal virtually. But
nope.
I'm not aware of what the your lawyers and everything else may have given you guidance for. So
were you gonna say something, Gage?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you. We asked about this ruling, and we got something back from Tim Thompson, I believe, right?
We did. We were told no, not at this time. We talked about different options. Nat, we've explored a number of alternatives. Hybrid meeting, doing a Zoom meeting. Problem with these Zoom meetings, we really thought that was probably the right mechanism to allow you folks to meet and not violate the guidance we've been given from town hall. But the problem with those is that there's a lot of boards in town that have to meet, and it takes resources to put these on in terms of Merrimack TV and so forth. So it just wasn't, I think ultimately wasn't enough nights of the week to have all these meetings occur.
The subcommittee meetings have never been televised before. I'm not really sure why it would take Merrimack TV resources. Certainly, I appreciate the fact that Merrimack TV has been going above and beyond, but if it wasn't televised before, why would it be televised just because it's virtual? For the conference software that I'm familiar with, literally the person starting the meeting can push record, and they can post that later, and I don't think Merrimack TV would even have to be involved. I get emailed a recording of the meetings that I record through my employer, and I could email that or send the URL to Merrimack TV or publish that to YouTube myself. Before Merrimack TV even put videos online, I was doing that through both Google and YouTube when they were separate companies. So it's certainly possible.
Well, see, that's something maybe we can talk with Tim Thompson offline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we submitted our own meeting minutes. There was no recording. The only reason we needed any kind of interaction with the town was to have someone leave the door unlocked, so we had a conference room.
Yeah, I would expect you have the same requirements you always have of,
right.
Your
notification,
notice and availability. So it needs to be, held in a way that the public could access it if they choose to. But I don't think it needs to be even recorded and published. Just needs to have minutes taken and be available to the public to attend if they wish, whether it's virtual or physical.
That might be the sticking point, is having a common platform to allow people to gain access to the meetings. We can, no, obviously you're around, you answer emails promptly, so we'll see if we can catch an audience with Tim Thompson and see if there's some other way that we can do this offline.
Yeah, certainly. It's probably time to ask the question again. I wonder, do you have a sense, Nat or Gage, if I guess we won't know until we get emails out to all these people, how many of the subcommittee members would participate in the meeting if we got it on the schedule, got it approved, and actually had it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go after that.
I know Mike and I tried to get the Scalar Conservation Subcommittee intro meeting going in a fall outside, but that wasn't allowed either. Like we were going to meet at the property and just have our first meeting, but that got shut down.
Okay, well, I've got it on my notes. We'll go back and ask the question again. Maybe something's changed.
That would actually be a really important question to ask is, what level of group size and activity would be permissible outside, because a lot of the responsibilities, particularly for the Greater Woods Subcommittee, has been maintenance of the property. And as far as I know, other than, Matt, who I'm sure still rides the trails and still is out there taking care of the property in a certain way, I've got no idea what's happened on the property in the past year.
Good point. Nat, you heard us talking about the maps.
Yep.
Before you jump out, did you have comments about updates that you would recommend to the maps and so forth?
I mean, I would think that if you want to do it inexpensively, have the individual subcommittees have someone walk the trails with a GPX recorder. Just use Ozyman or one other app on your phone to record the GPX breadcrumb trails. Send that to the National Regional Planning Commission, and they can update their maps. The subcommittee should know what maps are new since the last update, what trails may have been, rerouted or added. And rather than having the NRPC quote, having someone walk all the trails again, just provide them the breadcrumbs. Most people are familiar with doing that nowadays. And that would probably be the least expensive way to go. And despite the fact that some people are looking to get paper maps, they disappear if you put them out in the kiosks. And despite the fact you guys are getting them for free, for that very generous sponsor in Paper Graphics, I think printing maybe 100 and leaving them at Town Hall for someone to go in and pick up on demand might be a better use of resources and less waste of paper than putting a couple hundred in each of the kiosks and having them disappear in a month.
Yeah, even the fact that the kiosks are empty, we're not seeing any less people on the trails.
Yeah, most people are using maps on their phones. I was just snowmobiling in Pittsburgh last week, and the club trail maps are sitting unused. People still donate money to the clubs, but everyone's using a online trail map for the snowmobile trails, and they have the same thing for your walking trails. I've actually been in Greater Woods in the past and gone in the apps and gone to Merrimack Outdoors and downloaded the GPX trails and use that while I'm in the woods.
Anyone? Any other questions for Matt? No. Well, thanks, Nat, for joining us. And yeah, we'll circle back with Town Hall and give you an update what we learned about subcommittee meetings.
Okay.
Thanks, Nat. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too.
Hey, before Nat leaves, do we want to talk about that WAPAC panorama?
Sure.
Okay.
So,
Mike, let you do that.
I think, was it Amherst that originally put that up in the field
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's actually Amherst, but it's on Merrimack land now, on our side of the wall, stone wall. And I think, did Frank from Paper Graphics said that he would do a new map for us? No.
He didn't say he wouldn't. He just said we were talking, and he said that he was out in Greater Woods snowshoeing, and he said the Wapak panorama is in bad shape or something like that. Yeah. And I had no idea what he was talking about, so I had to ask him. And then I asked you about it, so that's why we're discussing it now. So at some point, I don't know where it came from initially. I don't know.
Amherst.
Yeah.
It might be a good Eagle Scout project sometime. A bench and redoing the map. It's just, okay. I don't know. It's a suggestion.
All right.
It's not a bad idea, Mike, but I don't know. I'd rather not wait.
Yeah.
At least for the map side of it.
I don't know how we would do that panorama over again.
You can take a picture from there, and we can label the mountaintops, and we can print that. Yeah. And Paper Graphics or whoever, but I would obviously go to Paper Graphics first, because if we do have to pay for it, I would rather pay him, or rather pay them. But they have plenty. Even the maps we're printing now on the PVC substrate are printed with waterproof inks and UV protective ink, so they don't really fade terribly in the sun. That's what we're putting in the kiosks now. So we have a good alternative for printing outdoor maps right now, or outdoor pictures, or any printing anything that's going to be outdoors.
That'd be great, because I mean, how many places with a view do we have in Merrimack?
No, that's one of them. That's definitely it.
Okay, well, I don't even know what it looks like. So I guess my question is, between Gage, Nat, and Mike, if you want to figure out who wants to take a picture and who wants to do it, I can always talk to Frank and see how he can be involved with this, see if there's a price.
Okay, I'll get a picture of it.
Okay.
All right. Were there any other subcommittee updates? And thanks, Nat, again, for joining us.
I'm going to give a shout out to Matt, because Matt went, when I was telling him about that big tree that was down, Matt went and sent me a text and said, you don't have to worry about that tree anymore. So yes, Matt is still out there he's out there in his own way, doing his thing.
That was a big tree.
That was a huge tree. It was a monster.
I happened to see him the other night, and I said thank you. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I texted him also and thanked him.
So he's going to be here at the 3:15 meeting, just so you guys know. He'll be on the agenda to talk about New England Mountain Bike Association.
Okay.
And Nat, you can always jump in and say hello to him if you want.
Yeah.
Other subcommittees, anything to update from the other subcommittees? I don't think there was.
No. Nat, I'll be in touch. I'd like to talk to you about that other conferencing program, and we'll see what we can do about getting together.
Sure.
Nat, thanks for coming, and thanks for being so patient waiting for us.
That's all right. My life is online these days, so it's not a big deal.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nat.
All right, bye.
We had a couple tabled items. I'll list them here, and if someone wants to talk about either of them, we can. One was an ex officio for Horace Hills Nature Preserve. Certainly, if someone would like to volunteer to take on that role, we should remove that item from the table. At this time,
I think we leave it on the table till next time.
Did the ex officios have to be full-time members, or can they be alternate members? Didn't remember what we put in the bylaws.
I'm pretty sure when I signed up for Wildcat, I was still an alternate, wasn't I, Tim?
Yeah, I don't think you have to be a full-time member. You'd have to look at the charter for each of the subcommittees. It wouldn't be in our bylaws, but it just says a member of the commission. I don't think it dictates alternate or full-time.
Okay.
You brought up membership of subcommittees. I believe in 2020 we voted on Wildcat Falls subcommittee. So you might want to look at some of the old minutes just to see what our membership really looks like when it's the last time we took up each subcommittee. Okay. So.
The only other tabled item we had, hold on, where was it? My notes. Oh, the spraying. Gage, did you ever get we just couldn't find the forester who did the spraying before, is that correct?
He left. I did. I called Bay State and played phone tag with someone, and I just kind of dropped through the thing. We never hooked up. But Bay State was the forester that did the spraying before, and we're trying to hook up with them and get some quote or some idea if there's something they can even still do. I have not gotten that answer yet.
Okay. Simple enough then. I guess we'll leave that on the table for future discussion also. That brings us to the presentation of the minutes.
So before you go too far, Steve.
Sorry. Yes, you had something.
Yeah. So Kyle came to us with the Sauhegan River Trail project. We spoke a few meetings ago about wetland mitigation activities that could be done, and he said that he was putting together a wetlands permit to go to DES, which would include our suggested wetland mitigation for the impacted areas. So we got an email, or I saw an email that said that on Friday his contractor or the consultant is put in a wetlands permit application into the town hall, which is part of the process dictated by RSA 482 -A, I believe. Yes, 482-A. So wetland permits have to be, when they're put in there, they're sent to the municipal office and received by the town clerk. In our case, they are stamped and noted as being received by the town clerk, and that then sets off a whole chain of events that are all dictated by the calendar, and the calendar dates or the number of days is all defined in RSA 482-A. Well, the first date that's meaningful for us as Conservation Commission members is within 14 days of being received by the town clerk. We have to indicate to DES whether or not we would like to make comments on that wetland application. And if we choose to make comments on that wetland application, we then have 40 days from the time it was submitted to make those comments, or the DES can move forward with the wetland permit to do whatever they would need to do for their approval or rejection or whatever else. So we have a 14-day window from the time it's received by the town clerk and to indicate to DES that we want to say anything. Now, in the case of this permit application, we're familiar with the project. We've discussed the wetland mitigation. It's going to take time to work all that stuff out. So if we, in fact, see that wetlands permit at our next meeting, we have plenty of time to provide input to Kyle to ask him to make changes. Whether they need to go into the permit or not is, we'll have to figure that out at the time. And I'm sure there'll be a large enough window where DES would accept our comments as the Conservation Commission comments. And we may not have any comments. It's kind of been a while since we've done a permit. So, but I raise this timeline with all of you because say this was a project that's not town sponsored and we know nothing about it. When that application gets dropped off at town hall and we don't know it's coming, we need someone within community development, the town clerk's office, to say, hey, Conservation Commission, we've got this permit application, you need to act on it. If you think that you might even want to act on it, you've got to at least indicate to DES that you want to be able to review it and provide comments to them. So in the case of Kyle's consultant dropping it off last Friday, if we didn't act on it at this meeting today, the next meeting we have is outside that 14-day window. Technically, DES could say, Commission, you didn't let us know in 14 days. We don't care what you think. Now, would that happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen. Is it going to get rushed through in 15 days and be all done? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But you should all be aware of that timeline that's going on. So therefore, it needs to be closely coordinated between the clerk's office, Sharon, or Community Development Department. They need to alert Steve Perkins, chairman, say, hey, we've got this thing, we've got to have a meeting, or you at least have to get a feel for the view of the commission as to whether or not they might want to comment on this. And I would suggest you always err on the side of being conservative and saying, yes, we want to comment on everything that comes, right? And you would have to get a hold of the office, a DES office, and it used to be, oh, I forget the gentleman's name who used to run the office, and say, hey, we want to make a comment on this. So since this permit is the most recent one we've seen probably in quite a long time, I figured I would use this moment today at this meeting in order to let folks know about these timelines. I suggest you keep an eye on RSA 482-A. It's in, I think, :11 is where these timelines are mentioned. Yeah, and just be aware of these things. So there are other kinds of permit applications that we've seen where they've asked us to sign off on the application because they wanted to do an expedited application. And what's happened is instead of it going into the town clerk's office, they make an appointment and come see us at our agenda, the permit, describe the permit, and then see if the commission, if the chairman's is willing to sign off that we have no further comments on it, that everything's been addressed. And I know we've done a few of those in the last couple of years. But this is different. This is going to take a while. It's a bigger project. There's a bigger impact. And I think we're okay with this one. But again, I just want to reiterate, when we get those unknown ones coming in, it'd be better to let Sharon know that we have to have a meeting. Or you at least have to be aware of them so you have time in the window to raise a flag. So that's all.
Well, thank you for that, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some notes. I'll pay closer attention to those. I'll talk to Sharon about those.
Yeah. So.
Okay, in terms of other business, I think that's everything. The only thing left is the presentation of the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated February 8th, 2021 with changes as follows.
Second.
Mike
seconding.
So before you start, which version of the minutes are we looking at? Because we did get one from Sharon and we got one more recently from Don. Are they the same?
They're the same.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to be sure. Okay.
Yeah, I have no changes. Actually, what ended up happening, the audio had some dropouts. So after Dawn completed the minutes, she sent them to me and asked me to read them over just to make sure she didn't miss anything. So I had read them over before and gave her any changes that I could see that were glaring. She made the corrections and sent them to Sharon. So based on what I have now, I have no changes.
All right. I'd like to suggest two changes. But I think, Mike, you jumped in before me.
Oh, no, I just said thanks.
All right. So, that's not the right page. So on page 2, line 39, about halfway across the line, it says properties with a strong conservation easement. I think that should be conservation easement. And then on 6, line 25. I'd like to substitute the word could for would. So the sentence would read, it actually starts on line 24. The end result could be petitioning it for a warrant through the petition process. If I said would, I intended to say could, but I thought I said could.
All right, so the two changes. Anyone else?
Anyone else? Okay, we'll vote this as we do during these virtual meetings. We'll vote roll call vote. I'll abstain. Mike?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Pete?
Abstain.
Mike Druin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0 with 3 abstentions. Okay, and finally, commissioner comments.
Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Who's I have Steve, you abstained and Pete abstained. Who else abstained? Cindy voted yes.
Did I tally wrong? Mike Druin, you were a yes, weren't you?
Yes.
Sorry, my math was wrong. Thank you, Gina.
Did you ask me? Yes.
5-0 and 2 abstentions. Commissioner comments, Mike? Anything?
Nothing. Nope.
Nope. Gina?
Nope, I have nothing.
Gage?
Nope, I'm all set.
Cindy?
Nope.
Peter?
Regarding the council, we have finished up the budget. No, obviously no big impacts for the Conservation Commission. There was, I don't know if you were aware, but there was a conservation officer position budgeted in the budget. This was originally an idea that I went to the town manager with, and this was going to be financed by the town. But in light of some increases this year, this was one of the items that I actually gave up in along with the other departments and so forth. This is a position I'd like to see eventually. I think it would help protect our conservation lands. You're gonna see it come back again next year's budget. And there are some things that just need to be ironed out as far as, you know, a lot of logistical things, vehicles, maybe a four-wheeler, so forth, things like that, and the responsibility of that. So you're going to see more of that, and I'm sure the Conservation Commission is going to be part of the process, I would expect. I'm not running again for re-election, so I won't be coming back this year. I've had a great experience here with the council and with the Conservation Commission, but you will see somebody else, and you'll see that topic come back up. I'm going to follow that anyways, because I really do believe it will help protect the land, and I think there's been a lot of commentary over the past year since I've been on the commission, and about concerns about enforcing a lot of these rules. So I think this would be important. So that really was the only major thing that I saw from the council.
Thank you, Peter.
We're gonna miss you, Pete.
You know, it's been a great, I got to tell you, it's been a great experience all around. And, you know, you folks, the Conservation Commission here everybody's wonderful. And keep me in mind for trail cleanup days, I would love to come out and help. And we've got some beautiful properties, and you folks have done a wonderful job of stewarding all these properties. So we're lucky. But I would, if you need help, always reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to come out and help. That's for certain.
We still have that swing at Wildcat.
We're gonna have you climb up and get it.
Okay.
Also, we're losing a lot of members over the last year or so.
Yeah.
Tim, any comments?
Yeah, two things. So I had an email exchange with Assistant Town Manager Paul McCallie about presenting Chapter 111 to the Town Council. He had mentioned that Merrimack TV has some better technology and it could be presented virtually during a live meeting, and requested whether or not I'd be interested in doing that at the end of March, which I'm open to. I did have a concern when he brought it up, and it's the same concern I raised last year before COVID came along, was if there's going to be a change in the membership of the town council, I would prefer to have the discussion start with the next town council versus getting input, getting guidance, directing town staff, directing Conservation Commission in one way or another, and then have the membership of the town council change when we go back to them and go through yet another cycle of changes, adjustments, and all that, because we're getting to the point now where we want to get that final feedback so we could then start doing the legal writing and engaging with the town attorney and all that stuff. So to make sure we get all the wording correct. So I asked that if it looked like there was going to be potentially multiple members of the council changing with this latest elections, that we wait till April and then do it then. So we're going to wait and see what it looks like. How many councilors? There's 3 open slots this time around, and see how many choose not to run for election again, and how many people throw their hat into the arena to be elected. And if it right now we know Pete's seat's going to be changing, so one of the 7 members is going to change, and if it really looks like at least another member could, based on how many people are running, it might make sense just to wait till April. So, and hopefully by then, I am not a young spring chicken, so I will qualify for a vaccine shortly, and I'll have that shot in the arm, and we can do it in person. So.
And Tim, I got to tell you, I was in South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and I attended the meeting. They had me separately on screen, and I think it's kind of interesting. It worked out well. I had great reception, and I watched the meeting, and I got input, as opposed to trying to teleconference. A 3-hour meeting was a nightmare before. So this is much nicer. It works out good. But I agree with you. I think that there's a potential for some change. You've got one counselor, Bill Boyd's up in the special election. Depending on what happens there, that could, but you've got right now, I see 4 names that are running. Obviously Tom and Nancy, and then 2 other people have thrown their hat in the ring. So.
Okay. Yeah. So odds are we'll end up waiting till April. So just to play it safe. So.
Thanks, Tim.
Sorry. So the other thing I wanted to mention is this year may be an early mud season. Certainly been an interesting weather. We've got a lot of snow. The ground is pretty juicy right now. It's going to freeze up tonight, and then it's going to get juicy again. So we just ask that people be leery of mud. Try not to expand the trails wide. If you come up to a trail area which is really watery and muddy and all that, turn around, choose a different path, or walk straight through it. Honestly, that's the best thing for the trails, is to walk straight through it. So that way you don't make it wider, you don't create bypass trails, you don't further disturb other things. There's probably a reason why the trail is where it is. So, but if you can't choose a different path, as in turn around and go another way, then go straight through it. So at your own risk, obviously. So.
Good advice. Thanks. Mike Druin, anything? Did I skip you?
Yeah, that's too bad about the conservation officer. Could there be a camera put temporarily at Scholar to catch those vandals?
Mike, the PD has used their game camera there, and I think that if the chairman or yourself reached out, I'm sure they would be interested in helping out again. I can even mention, I'll shoot an email to the chief that you may be contacting him, or Steve may be contacting him, and I'm sure, I would hope, and I believe they will help you out.
And Mike, do you have an idea, Mike? Are there prime times that the issues are happening? Because the times that I've reached out to Fish and Game, the conservation officer, McFadden, that's been the question he's asked: is can we narrow down the window when most egregious violations are occurring?
Yes, I caught someone and reported it. It's usually on the weekends, and a lot of the time it would have just rained. So I've been trying to go out at that time. They'll see my vehicle parked there, and they'll most of the time they'll turn the other way.
Okay. Yeah, I'll certainly pass it along. He's been down there. He's done enforcement. Yeah, it's just any information we can give him helps him figure out when he will be there.
I have no idea what happened when we called that officer. So the last time I was down there with a meeting, that somebody was stuck out there, and we called the officer and showed up 45 minutes later. I think I told you guys about this. And so the person was still there, even though it was 45 minutes later, because they were stuck. But I don't know what happened with that. The officer talked to them, and I think they were under 18, and he was going to notify their parents. I have no idea what happened, but they did get caught.
Mike, and I don't know if you want to, you can find that out. I'm sure they'll have the information on file at the PD, and ask, or Steve wants to ask on behalf of the Conservation Commission. I'm sure they'll give you an answer. And in the future, I would suggest asking, and if you didn't happen to do it already, is asking whatever officer you deal with, is that you'd like a follow-up call. I mean, that's important. I think I've always been a big believer in we should follow up on the calls, and let people know the outcome.
Thank you. I'll have to remember that. Follow-up call.
I had no other comments. Anyone? Okay. Would like to make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Gage, second by Mike Laver, by roll call vote. Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Mike Druin?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0 to 0. Thank you all for joining. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning. I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.